Okay, it's time to discuss some of the components that are going into our Stage 3 build of the MY16 Golf R. We are going to start with the heart of the matter, the big air pump, the Racingline Stage 3 hybrid turbocharger. As you can see, the hybrid turbocharger is based on the factory unit. Everything bolts up just like factory. Oil lines, water lines. If you already have a downpipe, your Stage 2 downpipe will already work with this turbocharger. You can also see that we use the factory boost control. Other people have tried and failed using different types of boost control methods. We found this is by far the best. What I'll do is I'll take some close-ups of the other components going in here, and I'll be able to show you the compressor and the impeller wheels up close as well. Right, our next component in the build is the Racingline MQB intercooler. As you know, or as a lot of you would know, we're based in Queensland in Australia, and we get some fairly extreme temperatures here. We're already into the start of summer, and today in the dyno cell we're well in excess of 30 degrees Celsius. Good intercoolers make a massive difference in producing the power reliably. You can see the intercooler. It's a bar and plate construction. It has cast end tanks all formed into the factory type positions. Very efficient, fits in nicely, doesn't affect any of the other standard OE components whatsoever. To give you an idea on the size of the core, here is a factory unit. That might help get a little bit into perspective.
Good afternoon, I'm Byron from Harding Performance. Today we are looking at the 3-inch Miltech Sport cast downpipe. As you can see here, we have a 200 cell high flow cat versus the factory catalytic converter. It is located in the same spot. We use a cast head so that we can get into the tight spaces where the factory location is, with a high quality flex joint and factory mounting locations. Then we come down here, we have 76mm stainless pipe versus the 65mm. And this all mounts back into the factory exhaust. Thanks for tuning in.
Now I'll run through some of the intake components for you. Starting off with the stock system, fairly standard late model Volkswagen intake, made for all countries, all climates. Very snow-proof and desert sand proof. It's a fairly good surface area actually for a modern car. You'll see the intake part. If you refer to the front radiator support panel, you will notice this is the side the intake sits on. This part of the intake is completely closed from factory. It actually only breathes in on the right hand side of the car, and then it allows this side of the airbox to pull hot air from the engine bay. So it really doesn't get any cold air at all. This is the Racingline R600. As you can see, the front of the intake is pulling air all the way from the front, both sides, all the way across. You'll see the double inlet there. A large, huge washable air filter in there. And we have tested these air boxes, and the single-sided air boxes that are on the market, they're good up to about 400 horsepower, but after that you can lose as much as 25 horsepower when you hit up the 500 horsepower range. So good intake is very important. Next component is the Racingline Turbo Inlet Elbow. This is the factory unit. This came straight off the Golf R. Comes out of the IS38 turbocharger. You can see the diameters there. I'll try and get a close-up again for you. But there's quite a massive difference in how Volkswagen neck the inlet pipe down to meet the turbocharger. We find good gains of these when we couple them with the silicon intake hose. The factory unit, as you can see, has got a lot of convolutions in it. A lot of those disrupt the airflow. We have seen gains of up to 12 kilowatts from this hose and this turbo elbow alone. So very nice little gains from those units. Also available in multiple colours. And finally, we have, it's very famous in this workshop, the turbo muffler delete. The turbo muffler delete is on the outlet side of the cold air coming out of the turbocharger. Factory Volkswagen have put in a sleeve with a few slots in it. those slots actually take some of the flow of the air and muffle it down, make the car quieter. The Racingline unit, straight through, all the way through, new ceiling, lip, great unit, changes the sound of the vehicle quite distinctively. Okay, here's a bit of a close-up of a couple of the components. Here is our silicon elbow intake hose. As you can see, it's stepped, it's clean, it's got a nice flow, it's strong, versus the stock hose. A lot of convolutions, a lot of disruptions to the flow in there. Here's our turbo muffler delete we were just discussing before. You can see the design there, and how that cuts in compared to the Racingline version that is straight through all the way. And here is our intake hose. It's probably a really good shot from the top to show the restrictions there. As you can see, it's a nice unit, bolts into the factory position. Okay, now here is our Racingline Stage 3 hybrid turbocharger. I'll try and get you a shot of the size of the insides of that. And when you compare this with a standard IS38 turbocharger, you should be able to see quite a difference there on the compressor wheel. When we look at the turbine wheel, this will give you a little bit of an indication. A little bit hard to do one-handed here. You'll see the size has changed quite dramatically. Okay, well here's a little close-up of the beast. As you can see, the engine bay looks very stock, very factory-like. The R600, cleverly disguised in there. The silicon inlet hose, the turbo muffler delete, and our turbo elbow. There's the heart of the beast, the Racingline Stage 3 turbocharger. And we can just spot our Miltech Sport cast downpipe and high flow race cat.